Good morning. Nice of you guys to drop by.
What a piece of junk. What are you talking about?
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed.
Look, don't worry. Everything's gonna be fine. Trust me.
I don't know what all this trouble is about, but I'm sure it must be your fault. Don't get technical with me.
This bickering is pointless.
Don't everybody thank me at once.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
How
could you even say that?
I got a bad feeling about this.
Well, come on.
Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Would you get going, you pirate?
Get in there, you big furry oaf! I don't care what you smell!
I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
If what you've told me is true, you will have gained my trust.
I like the sound of that.
Get a shuttle ready.
I don't know. Fly casual.
Shuttle Tydirium, what is your cargo and destination?
Transmission commencing.
Galactic HoloNet, hello, welcome again to Shuttle Tydirium, the mothership of casual X-Wing gameplay, as officially recognized by FFG. Everybody, do we have all our crew here? First off, co-pilot Phil Mead, are you there?
Hey, how's it going? Just to let everyone know, we are aware of the Ewok on the left wing. We do not expect it to be a problem. Please stop telling us that it's there. We know. Thank you.
All right, Chief Engineering, what do you got to say about this Ewok problem?
Oh, it's you know what? It actually solves the my mystery, because I was just going to tell you, Jim, that some move milker put a compressor on the ignition line, and obviously the Ewok was involved.
Ah, well, maybe we can send out J-Bot, our protocol droid, to go talk to this Ewok.
Yes, blaster is ready, loaded, and willing.
Jonathan, he said talk. He said talk.
That's how we talk. That's how J-Bot talks.
He's fluent in 10,000 languages
Blast
and laser
first.
blast.
Yeah. Blast first, blast later. Never bother talking.
All right, so, and if you don't know, your captain is James Chadwick. James T. Chadwick, also known as Hey Chadwick on the forums. And thank you, everybody, for making it to this week's The Shuttle Tydirium podcast. We try to present a different view of X-Wing. Everybody knows and loves all the various tournament podcasts. And this is one geared towards the not-so-tournament guys, where pretty much we want to have fun, we have a laid-back attitude, we like to actually laugh at ourselves.
I mostly like to laugh at J-Bot, but, you know, whatever.
That's okay.
He likes to laugh at me.
Plenty of me to be laughed at.
Excellent. So on the way to Endor, we can probably go ahead and talk about a few things. And normally I have a captain's question, but on our Facebook page, our social media outlet, I've actually gotten a fan question come through. They said that they would like to have the ability to actually give fan questions every once in a while, and I'll just kind of go with this one. What one ship would you like to see them make that hasn't been made yet?
Ooh. Very interesting. There's actually so many going ships right now being proposed in the custom card league that I'm running that it's kind of hard to pick one, because then I feel like I'm endorsing one of them, which I probably shouldn't.
Right.
Well, okay, I'll go ahead and give one. I'll break tradition and go first. Because, to be honest, I usually don't care. I'm like, whatever they throw out, I'm like, oh, it's cool, let's play with it. But since I have to answer, I am so sick of hearing people talk about the assault gunboat from the TIE Fighter game, the LPC game. Like, it's, I think, actually the oldest active thread on the X-Wing FFG forums, and it's got, I don't know how many pages, 176, something. It's absurd. But basically, these guys have been asking for the assault gunboat from the old TIE Fighter game, with Merrick Steele, where he came from, as a ship. That, to be honest, I want to make these guys happy, and I'm sick of hearing about it.
Oh, you can't make them happy if it's that old of a thread. Somebody's going to complain. It's missing
of course
some
they
little
are. It's
detail
not
or
going to be.
whatever.
But you know what? Just make the dang card and shut up about it. And so Bob Smith, I know that was actually your question and your answer to see the gunboat. So I hope this makes you happy. And no offense, and there's so many people who have talked about the assault gunboat. I just get it out there.
My ship. I wants to just get one the heck out of the discussion. That's your answer.
Yes, actually, that's my answer. So, J-Bot, what do you want to see done?
Okay, so first, a little bit of a background information on this. I love Star Wars, but I am first and foremost a massive fan of the Old Republic era stuff. You know, I fell into it with KOTOR, KOTOR 2, and played the online game. Still play it.
Wait. KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, yes?
Sorry. Oh, I mean, if you don't do that, why are we even talking here? I know that the X-Wing game is never going to go back into those days because it's still kind of an iffy at this point whether or not it's even canon anymore. But it's so far back, there's kind of a yes-no point on it. But if I had to choose at this point, I'd want a D5 Mantis, which is the bounty hunters ship from the from the Old Republic game. Anybody who's played the online MMO and has played a bounty hunter class knows what this ship is. I'm not going to give any background away just in case somebody randomly decides to play the story on it, but it is a bounty hunter ship in the vein of kind of the Slave One fire spray.
Okay.
It looks very similar to it, but it doesn't have the same stance, if that makes sense.
I just Googled it because I had no idea because I don't play this KOTOR. But
this
basically,
big difference.
This is a Firefly. This is a Firefly
fire
class.
spray.
No, it's a Firefly class vehicle, the Serenity from.
I don't know.
It looks like the Josh Whedon non-Star Wars game about cowboys in space post Civil War. Firefly. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about, but that doesn't even remotely look like the Serenity ship.
It does.
It's got 3 engines. One of them folds down.
It's got 3 engines. One of them folds up underneath, and all 3 of them carry guns. It's much more close to the fire spray instead of the fire. You know how the fire spray kind of stands itself up. If that makes sense. This one looks almost like a fire spray laying down. That kind of runs that way, kind of runs horizontal to the ground versus kind of standing to the ground, whatever. It stands more horizontal versus a perpendicular, but it's got, to me, a more kind of menacing stance to it. There's another ship from SWTOR 2, which is, I don't know the name of off the top of my head, but it's the Imperial Agents ship, which is a sleek stealth kind of thing, but I figured I might tip into the angry side of Jim if I brought that up. But it's really neat and kind of sleek looking, very spaceshipy. It just, to me, it's never felt like a Star Wars ship. It's almost too clean, if that makes sense. But this one, the D5 Mantis, just fits the world for me, or fits the universe for me. It's just kind of a bulky, kind of heavily armed, heavily armored kind of gunship style for bounty hunters. So that's why I love it.
Yeah.
I never see it, but I'm not going to make a 100-page thread on the forums about it either. So that's why I'd want.
Very nice.
So I'm thinking now, there is one ship that I haven't seen in the Custom Card League so far. We may get one before this airs, but the Skip Ray Blast Boat. Any guys ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, where's that
but I
from?
think I'll Google it up right now.
Yeah, Skip Ray Blast Boat. I think the first book that it showed up in was the first book of the Thrawn trilogy. Talon Card has a bunch of Skip Ray Blast Boats at his base, and I think Luke steals one, and Mara Jade chases him, and I think this is also where you get the term Koi Grand turn from. So I think Luke tries to do a Koi Grand turn, but then he crashes because he doesn't know the Skip Ray that well, I think.
Oh, Luke.
It's definitely wild looking. That's
so the Skip Ray, it's a multi-crew like gunboat, originally designed for the Imperials, hyperspace capable. It's got this like rotating wing on the back end of it with I think cannons on the wingtips. It has a turret on the top of it. So and there's usually like torpedoes or missiles. It's been used in a lot of the Star Wars old novels as like
looking at some designs on Wikipedia. Proton torpedo tube, ion cannon, concussion missile tube.
Yeah. The ship pretty much, it has access to all of this stuff. So there's a lot of things that you could do with it in terms of like the design space. I think you could, very easily justify putting a barrel roll action on its dial because it has that spinny wing thing in the back. Definitely have crew or maybe systems or turret or cannon.
Now, it looks like it's got room for a whole bunch of stuff, actually, just based on pictures I'm seeing and that sort of thing.
Now, just to throw out there, what the Thrawn trilogy, for anyone that doesn't know, it's part of the extended universe, which is the non-canon, which has not been deleted. It's been said.
I think Thrawn has basically been destroyed at this point.
No, not true.
Because it takes place between the two movies, and at this point, I think anything between those two, it wipes out.
No,
between 6 and 7, I should say.
There's been a sneak preview for Episode 3 of Star Wars Rebels, where they show a dark, non-human figure in Imperial officer's outfit that a lot of people say pretty much looks like Grand Admiral Thrawn, though maybe he's not Grand Admiral at this point because it's before that.
Yeah, it would be neat. I mean, trust me, that's one of the best trilogies or series of stories that I've read from the Star Wars. And I think that's probably not going out on a limb by saying that. And I'd love to see it. I actually am sort of surprised that they haven't brought the Chiss race species, I'm not sure how that works, into the universe really as a whole at all, because it's a very interesting kind of species that's alien and yet very human-esque. And I'd love to see it. And I don't know if you'll obviously get a page-for-page copy of it, but if they bring the character in, if nothing else, it'll give a kind of an homage to the old stuff.
Right. Yeah. I find I've read an okay amount of the extended universe Now Legend stuff, and I have to say that I admit I am picky. I like good literature, and I like bad literature too. But a lot of the extended universe stuff tends to be okay. And the Thrawn trilogy is kind of good. It moves beyond passable, okay. It's kind of good. It's enjoyable. If you've got to read anything extended universe, read the Thrawn trilogy and just forget the rest. Flush it, just forget about it. And I'm sure there's people going fuming right now, going, "What? There's so many good things."
Yeah, there's quite a bit of drag in there too.
Right, but like the Rogue Squadron, I tried to listen to audiobook, and I couldn't get through the first, half of the book.
Mine's all come from comics, so I've never read any of the novels. So all my stuff's come from the comics, which I think are just adaptations of a lot of the novels.
Right, but basically, and for anyone who says, "Oh, look, the universe is dead; it's been deleted by Disney," it's not true. If you actually read what the heck they say it's been moved to Legends, which is kind of true until it gets corrected or confirmed via canon material. So basically what we're saying is that they're going to leave all that out there as kind of like this vague guideline, and they're going to take the best characters and stuff and semi-plot lines and rewrite it to fit into the canon and hopefully do a much better job.
Yeah. Well, I know this is a bit off of the plan for the show, and I'll just mention it, but I mentioned the Star Wars Old Republic stuff. People have been spotting in kind of the new stuff that's out there a lot of things that kind of harken back to that. They've seen kind of symbols from the Old Republic and some kind of nods, if that makes sense. Like you watch Episode 7, there are parts of it where you're like, somebody has played these games before, because there's some very obvious kind of nods to it. And so I agree with you. Yeah, they haven't erased it. It's more of we just haven't made it official yet.
Right.
So it's going to change.
They're going to use it as guidelines. They're going to kind of twist it and take characters. And like people are saying, well, they might have Dengar, but there's nothing saying that the Punishing One is his main ship. I'm like, come on. yes, they're going to use that. They're going to take Dengar and they might rewrite what happens to him or whatever, but they're going to use Dengar and his main ship as the punishing one. Come on.
Was X-Wing considered, like the stuff that they're throwing in there, considered canon at this point? Because it's okayed?
It's kind of vague, so I'm not sure. But
so if they release Dengar with the punishing one, does that not, hey, this is kind of...
But I got to say, is Dengar is in Empire Strikes Back. It's known that his ship is the punishing one. While it might not be stated in anything canonic, whatever you say, for that his ship is called the punishing one, but if they're going to introduce his ship, it's going to be the flippin' punishing one. I mean, does anyone have any real doubt that that's actually...
I think actually what they did with the expanded universe is stuff that was past the Battle of Endor is the stuff that they really threw out, moved into Legends.
Well, there's a bunch of other stuff that's kind of just vaguely Legends, and so it's like they, even Dengar and exactly what his backstory is, we don't fully know, other than what's in the Clone Wars and such. But you can pretty much bet it's going to be very similar, but maybe they're not going to do, say, the Bounty Hunter Wars, because, to be honest, I found that pretty subpar, and was rather disappointed with Dengar's performance in that whole Bounty Hunter Wars. He was kind of whiny, and the series, so... I don't know, but we can move on. So,
what was Jake's?
Yeah, I'll very quickly. I won't linger too long on it, but I really like your choices. You guys got some good ones. It's really hard for me to pick a new one, but if I had to choose, I'd actually go for the Soulless one, which is a ship that was seen in Episode 3, and it's the personal starfighter of General Grievous. And for me, General Grievous happens to be one of my favorite characters. I don't necessarily like the ship, the Soulless one, all that much, but he is my favorite character. So I feel like if I had to add one ship into the game, it would be the Soulless one, and I would use the pilot card, General Grievous, with the Soulless one, it's a small one-seater fighter, in case anyone doesn't know, and all it has is a rapid-fire laser cannon, like a triple rapid-fire laser cannon. So it is a little bit akin to a interceptor, I think, except it's a little heavier. It's got shields and probably a little bit more armor because it's a very customized ship. So that would be my choice.
Yeah, it's a neat-looking ship.
Yeah.
Kind of like a hot rod car or like a Mustang.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. It's like very hot roddy. It's got more hood on it than it does anything else.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that is the captain's question, which is really the listeners' questions for today. I think we might go ahead and actually do a new JBot segment. JBot's Secrets to Power Gaming.
Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen. I'm looking forward to completing your training.
This is ridiculous.
Patience, my friend.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
You will find that it is you who are mistaken. About a great many things. I have foreseen it.
It's a good story. I think you just can't bear to let a gorgeous guy like me out of your sight.
Good. Now, fulfill your destiny.
Yes, I know there's a lot of power gamers out there, people who want to be power gamers. I was one of you at one point, and I learned some tricks of the trade, and I want to give them to you. So I know this isn't the podcast for it, but they've given me time just to kind of help you out. If you're a casual, and you want to move up to that next tier, I got a couple ideas for you. The first thing you need to do is study. I mean, just pour over those cards like your life depended on them, like you're studying for that final exam. And because I need to be able to walk up to you at any moment, and I need you to build me 100-point list off the top of your head. If you can't do that, you got no shot in the big games. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you that right now, because that was my failing. People they'd rattle off a list just like that, and I'm like, oh man, I'm out of my league. I did not study for this test. I gotta go back and hit the cards. So that's one for you. The next one is you need to have multiple lists for the tournament ready at any given time. And you need to know, without consulting your diary, what the win-loss record of every one of those lists is. Okay? You need to know I won 3 and lost 2 and drew 1 with this, whatever your fancy list title is. Okay? If you don't know that, I need you to step away from the tournament table and work on your game a little bit, because those are big things. Okay? And let's see. Oh, yes. This one's important. This is actually critically important, because some of the people close by on the ship are notorious for this.
Uh-oh.
If you're scrutinizing, or I should say if you're not scrutinizing every little release by Fantasy Flight like it's the Zapruder film to find out card names and titles, you got no shot at the big table. I'm sorry. I'm going to need you to try a little harder, because in this day and age, you got to keep up with the Joneses, and that means magnifying glasses. That means microscopes. You need to be able to kind of guess what the names of pilots are, and be able to use 3 words in a column and know what the entire card's power is. If you can't do that, I need you to step away from the table, okay? So, but that's it for this week. Keep it on the hush-hush, on the down, so nobody knows I'm giving you that, because if these other guys know, they're going to step their game up too. So that's all for the week.
So be it.
And we'll come up with some more.
All right, excellent. So after these high-powered secrets that have just been dropped on us, we should probably kick it down a notch and do some B-Team. So just some nice themed lists that we can go into. So maybe we should go ahead and...
Watch it, you've got one on your tail. Yes, I can hold it.
No. All right, everybody. This week's B Team is something that I thought about before the Inquisitors come out. And I actually only had 1 or 2 chances to fly this list. And, of course, with my first time flying it, I had no idea what I was doing. It was destroyed utterly. But I think it has merit. So my list idea is Imperial Gunslingers. Now, I started in Wave 1, and I love TIE Fighters. And I think TIE Fighters, unique TIE Fighters, you can do a lot with them. And a lot of people just dismiss them. Oh, if it's not an Interceptor, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's just go ahead and go to Academy, or maybe 1 or 2. If it's not Hell Runner, blah, blah, blah. So I always liked the various named TIE Fighter pilots. And nowadays, once the Inquisitors come out and some of the TIE FOs, there's actually enough different TIE Fighter pilots of different breeds that you can have every ship in your list boost the main attack value of the TIE Fighter. Because what is the problem with TIE Fighters? 2 attack, die 3 agility. But the 2 attack can never really punch through what you need it to. But if you look, there's actually, I've got a list of 5 different TIE Fighter pilots that you can boost their attack value. And I'll start off with the first one, the most expensive. And it's a TIE Advanced Prototype V1. It's the Inquisitor. Yes, I know he's very meta. But to kind of squeeze in the list, I couldn't give him Push the Limit. But you can give him the V1 title, Auto Thrusters, and Veteran's Instinct. So he's PS10. He goes after everything, and he's still pretty good with his major attack there. He's a major threat. Now the next most powerful is a TIE Fighter First Order, TIE FO, Zeta Leader. When attacking, if you are not stressed, you may receive 1 stress token to roll 1 additional attack die. And I've got just enough points to give him Wired, which is an upgrade that says when you're stressed, you may re-roll 1 of your focus results for attacking or defense. So basically, you say, all right, boom, I'm attacking. I roll 3 dice, I gain a stress. You probably have, a target lock something. And you roll the dice. Hey, you're wired. You're stressed now. One of those results becomes one of the eyeballs turns into a hit. And then someone attacks you. One of the eyeballs turns into a defense. So pretty good there. Next, old classic, Mauler Mythal, which we learned about last episode of the Trench Run.
That's right.
And he's got the adaptive, the free, elite pilot, which just boosts his pilot skill from 7 to 8. Basically, when he's in range 1, he gets 1 additional attack die. He's a favorite for people wanting to kill. Everybody knows who he is, and they know if he gets close, he'll deal damage. So I put him in there, but I know he dies quickly, to be honest. If you can keep him alive, that's great, but he's one of those things that just I expect to get shot out of the sky pretty soon. Scourge is one of the new ones from the Gozanti. You give him adaptability as well, so he's pilot skill 8. When attacking, if the target has 1 or more damage cards, he rolls an additional attack die. So at this point, you've got the Inquisitor at PS10. You've got Mauler firing before, you could have him fire before Scourge. If you're really paranoid, you can put Scourge, knock him down to 6 instead of bumping him up 1, which means then Zeta Leader will attack, which means then his bonus might actually kick in. And lastly, good old Backstabber, where he fires one out of arc, extra attack die. So this is my themed list. It may not be super, super powerful, but basically it's not bad. It's a decent B team. You get to have 5 unique pilots. The lowest pilot skill is 6. They all boost their attack value, and it can be pretty fun.
Yeah, a nice thing about this list is that it doesn't necessarily have to fly in a formation the way that other TIE dominant lists might.
Yeah.
Flying in formation is probably still going to be good some of the time because, in general, it's a good thing to concentrate your firepower, that kind of thing. But you could split up if you need to, and it's not going to break up your synergy the way that, breaking up a Howlrunner Swarm might, or a Rage Swarm. I don't know if anyone besides me is running a Rage Swarm ever, but
I played at Wave 1, and I played with unique TIE Fighter pilots, different levels and everything. 6 unique guys, but I would never play Howlrunner because to me she would die so fast she would never make her points back. And Howlrunner ties you with flying in formation, which removes one of the strengths of a TIE fighter, which is the maneuverability. They have a fantastic dial, and they can barrel roll, and they can go pretty much at any PS level with all the different pilots. And to me, I got really good at swarming a player with TIE fighters. All sorts of different TIE fighters coming at different pilot skills, swarming, blocking, outflanking, arc dodging, and I have to say, a swarm. That's what a swarm is. Howlrunner with TIE fighters flying in formation is not a swarm. You are not swarming anybody with Howlrunner. I mean, when you're flying in formation, that's not a swarm to me. That's a formation. And I hate Howlrunner and that type of style with TIE fighters. And I know, blah, 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 et cetera, people disagree with me, but that's my opinion. Okay, put my restraining bolt back on.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you though. That I see a lot of people who when they get into ties, they throw 4, 5, 6 of them on the table, but they do just stick them in maybe 2 formations. They don't the idea I always had from the early days with the swarm was just they seem to all be coming at you from just random directions, and I have no idea where they're going to try and block me, where they're going, especially with low pilot skill. You're like, where are these guys going to be? What are they going to? What are they going to do? And flying in formation is not that. It's pretty, but it's certainly not a swarm.
1 or 2 academy thrown out there, and then different. I mean, I have beaten people having mixed pilot skill TIE fighters just in a group, and just throwing 2 academy, 2 obsidian or 2 black, just no EPTs, just for the PS, and just throw them out there. And if you block, and then you can send the other guys and they outflank. There's just a lot of options, and if you don't bump if you're actually good and used to it. A bit of practice. It doesn't take that much to avoid all the bumpage, but. Yeah, I don't know. Just I hate to call a swarm like a Howlrunner swarm. That burns me. All right, and besides this, and I'd love to hear feedback on it, since no one else seems to really say too much on it. But any feedback, I'd love to hear what people say. I'd love to be able to give, the Inquisitor push the limit, but there's just not the points. Like if I knocked out Zeta Leader from Wired, that would give me 2 points. I need 3 for push the limit. What do I do? Get rid of auto thrusters? Get rid of the V1 title?
Yeah, it's a tough call because the auto thrusters is really good, especially for the Inquisitor.
Yeah, that survivability with auto thrusters is hard to pass up. But the V1 title is, I know that gives you the range one shot basically at any range, but I mean, it really just depends on, are you just going to sit at range 3 with him, or are you going to plan to kind of get into close? I mean, that's right. Because I could see getting rid of it. I mean, there are plenty of ships out there with 2 attack dice that do fine.
Yeah, well, he's got 3 though with the Inquisitor. That's his special ability.
Oh, I was thinking it was the. That's right. It gives him 3, but
yeah.
What is the V1? I thought that was one that gave
the
him
the V1. If you take a target lock, you get a free evade.
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking the other way around. That's right. I got it backwards.
So it's pretty survivable if you don't screw up. The first time I flew him, I guessed wrong for a decent speed and totally had him. Like my opponent completely turned towards the Inquisitor, and I just kind of glided forward and I tried to barrel roll out of arc and just didn't make it and had everyone's arc, and he was dead pretty quickly. So that was my first time flying the TIE Advanced Prototype V1. But
one of the ships that I like in this list is Zeta Leader. I think that his ability is, or their ability is underrated. I think getting that extra attack die for a stress on that ship with that dial is really a really good ability.
Yeah,
because the TIE-FO dial is really great. It's got 2 hard green. That's a great green move to have.
Right, and even with wired,
use the heck out of that. Or at least I feel like I do.
Yeah, and wired works great. Even if you do the 2 red Segnor's loop, you're wired, and you can still use that. So I don't know. I love the TIE-FO dial. At first, when I first looked at the TIE-FO, I was like, I don't really find any use in this. This is just regular TIE-FO. It's a bit expensive, blah, blah, blah. And, on paper, it was really good. And I flew it a few times. I was like, holy crap, this thing's amazing. So I was very impressed with it. So, yeah. I do have one other, I don't know if it's a B list or something. I read online about this list. And I thought it was good because basically it's meant to kill aces. And I guess part of what I like to do is, your friends who play all the super meta lists, and they're all, I downloaded this list on the internet. This is my net list. I'm going to crush you with it and crush your soul. And it just coming up with things that beat meta is something I like. And I think maybe the casual gamer might like to have something in their pocket to pull out and be like, oh, you're one of those gamers? Let me do this. Bam. It is a YV-66, which is one of the 2 ships I actually don't own because I don't know, it just didn't really interest me. But it's a large ship, but it's got the extended firing arc, so pretty much a 90-degree angle, from where it's pegged.
180.
180, that's it. I'm sorry, 180-degree angle. Yeah, 290. That basically makes arc dodging really hard. And so if you take a Trandoshan Slaver, which is the generic cheapest one you can get, and you use all the crew for it by basically giving it Dengar, which is the crew predator, the reverse predator, where you can reroll 1 attack die. But if you're fighting against someone unique, you get to roll 2 dice. So, I don't know, Imperial Aces. That's one thing. You basically have to reroll 2 dice. So you don't even really need so much the target lock focus actions. And then the other 2 crew, one is Zuckuss, which says, when attacking, you receive any number of stress to make the defender reroll any number of dice. And that kind of ties into also Forlom, the crew, which says, when you're doing modified dice, you can get ionized and choose, 1 ion token, which you're a large ship, so 1 doesn't do it, you need 2. But you can choose, the defender they can't use either their focus or their evade token. So let's imagine this. Let's say you've got, I don't know, Suntir Fel from Firing Arc, or the Inquisitor, or someone. And you basically say, oh, you're, stealth device Suntir with 4 dice. Let's say you can't use your focus. Boom, I take 1 ion token, but, I can still move normal next turn. And then let's say Zuckuss. Let's say you roll your 4 dice. You've got no focus. Oh, you happen to roll 3 evade because you're freaking lucky. Okay, I'll take 3 stress. Reroll that those 3 dice. Let's see how many you get now. Boom. And then you've got Dengar to reroll your dice. To rack up the stress every round. Who cares? Stay stressed. It doesn't matter. You've got
that's pretty cool. I like using Zuckuss to pile stress on guys, and I've been thinking about or was thinking about having like a Jump Master build with Zuckuss and the overclocked R4 Astromech, both of which give you stress for dice modification.
Yeah.
You just you get a pile of stress like I did in the when we reviewed the Dengar mission. I had a ship built like that.
Yeah. It's like, so what? Pile the stress on, And this whole ship costs 34 points as it is right here.
Yeah, that's not too expensive.
Right. It's like, hey, I'm going to target you, Ace. I'm going to mess you up. So if you've got one of those friends that just can't build a list without Sinterfell or the Inquisitor or Darth Vader, this ship might help you out and smack him around to play something reasonable on occasion.
Yeah, there's a lot of lists out there that use unique pilots. I think pretty much every power list except maybe Triple Jump Masters has at least one unique pilot in it.
Excellent. So I'm always here to help out people smack the meta with non-standard. All right, but that could be our B team. Dun 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 dun. All right, so now we move into a topic that I'm going to hand the reins over to our co-pilot here, Philip Mead.
So, hopefully some of you already know this, but I've been running a custom card league, primarily on FFG's forums.
Wait, what's this custom card league?
So a custom card league is for everyone who has ever wanted to make a card to play with in the X-Wing game, which is, I think, maybe everyone on the forums. Well, the custom card league is your place to put that card out there and maybe have it end up being used by people actually in games, because the whole point of the league is to compile a whole bunch of card ideas, figure out which ones are good, refine them a little bit, and then implement them in a extension to the Vassal module for X-Wing. So Vassal is a computer program that you can download for free, and you can download a module on this to simulate the X-Wing game on your computer. And a lot of people use this to play games with each other online. And there's tournaments on there, and you can see tons of people playing games on Vassal every night. And it's actually a pretty cool place to get your pickup games if you can't get out to your local game store.
So wait, let's review what Vassal is, just in case someone out there doesn't know.
It's a computer program that you can download for free and play X-Wing on.
And a number of other games, too, tabletop, of course.
Excellent. So basically, you're in your home with no one because you live in Antarctica or in the middle of Arkansas, and you've got no local game store. You can actually go log on to online and play X-Wing with other people.
Yeah, it's really great. It's free, and there's some guy out there called Muon on the forums, and he does a great job of updating it very quickly with all the latest releases and leaks or teases from FFG. So any information that they give out on cards and pilots and ships, he implements on Vassal. So you essentially have the next wave of X-Wing releases implemented on Vassal before they even hit the stores, which is really cool. And what we want to do in the custom card league is make our own cards, make our own ships, put them in Vassal, and then once we have everything in Vassal, then we could play a short little tournament, and the winner of that tournament is going to get a ship with a custom paint job.
Nice.
And either me or my older brother. Yeah. Either me or my older brother, who is a much better painter, is going to paint that ship up for you, and that's a ship of your choice, whoever wins. So
that's a great reward.
So choose the biggest ship you can find.
Small ship.
I want a Corvette painted.
No. Yeah. If you send us the money and pay for a commission on the Corvette, maybe.
Oh, wait, that wasn't what we agreed to.
Yeah, no.
You said ship of our choice. I heard it.
Wasn't the offer. But yeah, there's actually been a ton of submissions so far for the Custom Car League. So we're recording this on May 19th. And at this time, there's over, there's over 18 custom ships already submitted. There's 60 upgrades that can be used by ships that are currently in the game, and even more that would be applicable to the custom ships that are being submitted. And there's about, I'd say, 15 pilots for new pilots for ships that exist in the game, and then another 20 for ships that are being submitted as custom ships. So the way this is all going to work is that every card that makes it into Vassal is going to have been voted on twice in the league. So the first round of voting is to decide what cards or what kind of card is going to end up eventually in being implemented in Vassal. So if we have 5 ships, 4 of those ships are going to be picked in the first round of voting. And then in the second round of voting, everybody gets to suggest the version of that ship that they think is most balanced. So say if I'm submitting a skip ray blast boat, maybe the first version makes it through the first round of voting and costs 30 points for a generic pilot. But maybe you take a look at that and think, this pilot is overcosted. It's actually worth 28 points. Then you can make a version of that card that costs 28 points and put it up for voting. And the version of the card that gets the most points in the second round of voting is the one that gets implemented in Vassal.
Nice. Very democratic and unimperial.
The other part of this, the other way this is being run is that the custom ships are going to go first. So, we're talking about, right now there's a whole bunch of ships out there. There's an assault gunboat entry. There's a TIE Advanced Avenger entry. There's a missile boat, I think. There's all sorts of things. And 4 of those are going to get picked. And then once we have those 4 ships picked, then we're going to do a round of voting on upgrades and unique pilots. This way we get to, weed out the upgrades and unique pilots for the custom ships that weren't picked in the first round of voting and that aren't going to make it into the Vassal League in this go-around. So we can actually vote on the cards that can actually eventually be implemented later in the actual Vassal extension. And there's 2 rounds of voting on the upgrades and the pilots, just like there will be on the ships. And all of that should wrap up in a few weeks. I think I have a schedule here. Let me pull it up real fast. So all the voting should be done around July 3rd. And at that point, we'll go ahead and do whatever needs to be done to make a Vassal extension. I don't think it's that hard. I'll probably end up doing it myself. Maybe I'll get you on to give me a hand, let me know what I need to do, but I think I can probably, do it without too much help. I don't think I'm going to need to ask him to do it for me, is essentially what I'm saying. And then we'll get this tournament started. I think it's going to be a lot of fun because like I said earlier, I think everybody has a card idea that they always wanted to see in the game. And this is a way to actually put it on the table and see if you're as good a card designer as you think you are.
Love it. Love it.
Cool.
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting ones as I've gone through the thread. I don't post too much on the forums, but I'm really impressed by the people who've not just kind of thrown an idea out there, which is what I did, but they've actually gone to the trouble of making the cards with the art and everything else. I'm really kind of impressed by how far people have gone.
Yeah, a lot of people use the Strange Eons program, which is a program that you can use to make custom card images. I use that to make. I put in a few entries myself. I don't want to put in too many, since I'm running the thing. It's sort of weird, but I did make a entry for a scimitar attack assault bomber, which is like an Imperial bomber that Thrawn used to like terrorize civilians and stuff. So I made one of those, and I made a bunch of X-wing titles and E-wing upgrades and titles to sort of give those ships more options and see if we can't get them on the table more. But there's actually a ton of interesting cards out there. A few of my favorites are the defective astromech, which is a scum salvage astromech, where every time you get a face-down damage card, you can flip it up and get a shield. So, you're going to be causing all sorts of havoc on your ship, but you get a shield back.
That is interesting. I wonder if it could be combined with any crew that would actually make that go away.
Yeah,
I know. Obviously, you can't use it on the one with Chewie, right?
Right,
since it's a scum size.
It's scum. Yeah.
Yeah, that's still pretty funny.
What page is that one at? Because I have not fully looked through these.
I think that's like 5 or 6.
Okay.
There's a lot of pages here if you're trying to catch
up.
Wait,
there it is. Defective astromech. Yeah, whenever you deal face down damage card, you may turn it face up to resolve it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that one looks like a lot of fun. Also, a ship that looks really interesting is the RVN 290, so the Raven 290, which is a ship that has no primary attack value, which is a very interesting choice, right? So this is kind of like a very dedicated support ship, but it also has slots for torpedoes, and I think it has an illicit slot also, so you can give it weapons if you really want to. But the pilot abilities are very support-oriented, and I think that could be a very cool concept for a ship. The pure support ship, sort of like what the Hawk 290 might have been.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was actually looking just for some kind of background information on the Hawk, and it's very slim, to be honest with you. But it's like they're still debating on how big the ship should be. Like that's how slim the information is. Like, is it bigger than the Millennium Falcon, which is what one kind of reference says, or is it like half the size? And so sometimes finding some of that information is funny, but. Yeah, because I've always looked at the Hawk as like, man, I feel like it should have at least something else on it, like a system slot or something. And I've always it's one of those ideas I've been kicking around to throw on there, but it's like if you don't, it almost has to be a title if that makes sense. But I guess it could be a Hawk modification only.
Yeah, they could do that.
But yeah, the only one I threw out there just as an aside was the one I came up with years ago, which is the flesh wound card. What is it? There's a pilot skill, EPT, obviously, but if you when you lose your last hull point, you can roll a green die. If you roll a focus, you get the whole point back, and you weren't destroyed. It's the Monty Python. No, it's just a flesh wound. You have to keep rolling that focus to keep yourself alive. But it could be incredible, or it could be, boom, there he went. Just that fast. So more of a comedic card, which was what I was hoping. I thought I would see some more comedy cards in here.
Yeah,
very
I had
serious.
I had one because and I know, Philip wants to make it serious, but I had one that was basically
I want a comedy. Is there a
plaid.
comedy wing in this? That's what we need.
I wanted going plaids was a modification. Basically, if you do a straight maneuver, you could then do that same straight maneuver again to go plaid, but you can't attack, and you get stressed at the end of the maneuver. And it was
like
all
Slam.
picture of like Dark Helmet, getting smashed into the the thing when he didn't buckle down.
We can't stop, sir. We have to slow down first.
Yeah,
that was funny.
Yeah, I mean, I had to consider those kinds of cards. How far of a departure we could do from the basic Star Wars universe. And eventually,
Right.
I think that if the card is just a little bit tongue in cheek, then I'm not going to do anything about it. But if it's Dark Helmet flying a TIE fighter, I don't know. The Dark Helmet crew card. I don't know if yeah.
I get it, Jim. You should make that the huge ship only card. That's probably huge ship only crew. Then it would actually kind of like because it's not like overbearing with the big ships, but it would still be rather funny to see that.
Yeah. All right. Now I did see one other one in here that I thought was interesting. It was in Salvage Astromech. Salvage Q7, small ship only. When you reveal a red maneuver, you may perform a free barrel roll action. I thought that was kind of cool. Like K turns or any of the like Y wings that have, a 3 hard turn or a 2 hard turn or whatever it is. Or even just a, you look at the, you can't do the Kirax doesn't have an astromech, but yeah, but I thought it was cool to add that in, just to have that option. Just, it was neat. Barrel roll, after a red maneuver. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. There's not going to be, I don't, you shouldn't interpret my talking about these cards as a straight out endorsement, but there is one card that I will unequivocally endorse, and it's not mine. Someone submitted a card for a Y-Wing pilot that you may have heard of once or twice named Horton Salm. And Horton Salm is a Y-Wing pilot that we already have in the game, but he doesn't have an EPT. He's pilot skill 8. He's like the best Y-Wing pilot that ever flew a Y-Wing. I think he saves Wedge's bacon a few times in the comics and the books. He's got no EPT, but this card he does have an EPT. So this should definitely be approved. Vote this card in.
The same card, but he's got an EPT.
That actually touches on one of the things, because I think the K-Wing pilots are the same way. There's not a single one with an EPT, which is always, it almost feels odd to see like a pilot skill 4 that has one, and then you have like pilot skill 6s and 8s who don't. You're like, how did this happen? Right. It's like they ran out of room on the bar, especially for the K-Wing. It's like they ran out of room on the little bar, and they said, to heck with it. We just won't give them an EPT. And I'm like, well,
yeah, I think
pilot skill 8, they didn't learn anything on the way up?
Yeah, there was some decision about, bombers not getting EPTs that, I mean, it's certainly a decision that they made with the Y-Wing,
Yeah.
But TIE bombers get EPTs.
But Y-Wings weren't even originally bombers, right?
Well, they're fighter bombers.
The game. They are in like the show and everything, but they weren't given bomb slots until recently.
No.
Am I wrong?
But by bomber I mean
torpedo.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it came down to just the general idea of having your bomber types, your missile torpedo boats, basically not having an EPT. I mean, you've got 2 crew, but they're all kind of pay attention to what's going on and everything. And so you've got the Y-Wings, the K-Wings and such are too busy doing all their crap with their big, confusing dashboards, all the dials. I mean, that's how I feel sometimes with the Shuttle Tydirium. Don't have time to concentrate to use their elite pilot talent.
Those are the other ships that don't get EPTs. They're shuttles, right? Is there any other ship that they didn't allow any EPTs.
You know, I don't know, but I can say that I
Maybe-
understand that. Having flying this thing, it's kind of complicated.
Yeah, Type Punishers also don't get EPTs, I think.
Yeah, but that's another bomb boat. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it can't be everything that carries a bomb because the fire sprays have them. You know, they have the bomb slots and the EPTs.
Yeah, it's a weird decision. I don't know why they, decided this and then, went with it again with the TIE Punisher.
Well, I think it was just that when they first started the game, they thought there might be skimpy with the EPTs. And you look at Garvin Dreys, he doesn't have one, and that's why they came up with the R2D6 that kind of gives you, an EPT basically. Just because they didn't think they were going to give them any out, but
yeah, I think that changed obviously. When you set the precedent of putting essentially 2 named pilots in every ship, when they get released, you start to run out of pilots, so you start giving EPTs out to people who might not necessarily need them. I guess just to kind of fill points out.
Generic pilots with EPTs, Green Squadron pilot, perfect example.
That makes no sense.
What makes the internet rage right now? But Jump Master, the Scout. So basically, the U-boat is your 3 Jump Masters at PS3. You can take Deadeye, they take a focus, and they can fire their torpedoes, and then they use
R4
agromech, which means if you spend a focus, you get the free target locks. You basically get you don't have to target lock at anyone, so it's like long range sensors. You can fire at anybody who's in range, and then
guidance chip.
You get guidance chip, and you get a target lock, and get to pretty much blast the internet to death.
Yeah, you get a lot of reliable damage with your torpedoes.
Yeah.
But Y-Wings can't do that apparently. No,
nope.
Not for Y-Wings.
No, sorry, Y-Wings, K-Wings,
damn it,
you guys are
Port
out.
and Salm should get an EPT. This is your chance, internet.
Yeah,
Port and Salm.
That's right. If only in one small
he deserves.
area. Yeah. I did see one kind of interesting. I think I saw it in this thread. Somebody was putting together, I guess, Jedi, almost a whole Jedi tree sort of thing he had made. It was a little overcomplicated for me trying to read it in the middle of the night, but somebody responded saying they didn't. I don't know, it might have been you saying they weren't really a big fan of adding a bunch of overt Jedi skills into the game. They wanted to keep it more focused on just.
Yeah, this is like a personal, sensibility. This is like a
crusade,
personal preference for me. I don't think that it makes a lot of sense in the spirit of the game to have like a pilot with force choke. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. You didn't really see it in the movies. Once they got into the ships, they were. The most they did really was kind of the slight prediction or the targeting sort of thing,
it's
but not
reflexes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, not saying flying by some guy at whatever speed they're going, choking him as he goes by.
Right. Yeah. And even Darth Vader does that.
So, well, exactly. The interesting thing is in the card game, and I've always interpreted Darth Vader's crew ability as something akin to the Force. You know what I'm talking about? Darth Vader, the crew card.
Right.
So, and it says that you damage yourself to deal like 2 damage to the opponent or something like that.
It's
or vice versa.
one crit to the enemy, 2 damage to yourself.
Right, and I can't figure out, I can never visualize it perfectly. I don't know whether he's just slicing up the own ship, to damage the other, or he throws his lightsaber through the hull towards the enemy ship.
There's no telling.
I interpret that card as more something like his command style when, for example, he's ordering the Star Destroyers to stay in the asteroid field, looking for the Millennium Falcon. He doesn't care if what you do does damage to your own ship, as long as you get the enemy that he's after.
Or alternatively, maybe he's force choking the captain of the ship for failing, and it's just enough to inspire the crew to deal a damage to the enemy ship.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know that the Palpatine's power.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, the Emperor's power. I've always, and this is me throwing it way back to my SWTOR, KOTOR stuff. I always kind of envision that as the battle meditation that they use, that they speak to in those games, which is essentially kind of a forgotten skill through the Jedi. But the idea is one of them's just kind of sitting there on the ship, kind of just vaguely guiding, just not like a massive overpowering, like just kind of vaguely guiding their troops, just giving them a sense, almost like morale. They never really kind of explains the Jedi thing,
I think that's actually a concept that was originally introduced in the Thrawn books. And
it might have been, but that's where I remember it from.
The idea was the Imperial fleet at the Battle of Endor had a huge numerical and qualitative advantage over the Imperials, or over the Rebels, rather. But when the Emperor died, they sort of felt like a forest reverberation, or they had become so used to that extended battle meditation guiding them in battle that they didn't know what to do. They felt powerless.
Sudden
and
withdrawal.
Then the rebels steamrolled them, and they didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to fight anymore, and then they just got crushed.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Thrawn. I was just scrolling through. Somebody made a Thrawn card on here, which I think is neat. Couldn't tell you on cost and stuff, but at start of activation, you can guess aloud one enemy ship's maneuver. If you're correct, you can assign a focus to a friendly ship. I'm like, that's kind of cool. It's like, I think he's going to do a one turn. The card looks expensive for what it's giving you. I mean, the possibility of getting a focus token on a friendly ship at activation, like before they've even moved, and it takes 2 crew slots, but it's still a funny idea. That's kind of interesting. Yes, that's kind of in a sense what he did. He was just very good at tactical stuff. That's kind of neat. But
I would love that card because I feel like I'm good at being able to guess. It is two crew slots and 5 points, but
to me it's too expensive, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah, like the Jabba card is, I think, too expensive. It's 2 crew, 7 points, scum only. At the start of the combat phase, choose one enemy ship at range 1 to 3. The first time that ship is attacked this round, the attacker rolls 2 additional attack dice. Oh no!
I like the slave dancer though. I totally want that on my Hawks. I totally want that for a Hawk. I'm like, I might vote that one in if nothing else, and I'll start playing the Scum Hawks more. Remove 2 stress tokens from your ship, and you may perform it while stressed. That is awesome.
Yeah, it's a very creative card. It's really well done.
It's perfect for Scum too. I'm like, I totally want that card.
How can you do an action if you are stressed?
It says you may perform this action while stressed.
Okay. Now it makes me think of R2 Astromech. 1 or 2 moves are green, and I call that Astromech aromatherapy bot because I could just totally see where it's like, your crew's like, it's just sandalwood. Thanks, aromatherapy bot.
Yes, my incense and sandalwood as kids make me feel better.
Right. Like, fresh cut grass.
But see, this is perfect, though. It's the slave dancer. It's like, we're under attack. What do we do? Hey, that's what I'm talking about. And then,
now in the mood.
Now, perfectly fine now.
Yeah.
There's one more set of cards that I wanted to talk about before we start to wrap things up. It's a set of cards that are sort of inspired by the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter video games, or X-Wing or TIE Fighter, where it's like I think there's 2 or 3 versions of these out there in the submissions, but the idea is you have power management cards. So like in the X-Wing video game from the or computer game from like the 90s, you could switch the power from your shields to your lasers or your engines, right? So you can give yourself a speed boost when you needed it, or boost your shields or boost your lasers. And people are implementing that in these cards that you can. I think they're trying to make like double-sided cards that you can flip over to switch your energy from your weapons to your engines or shields. And I'm really curious to see if those make it into the final game, because I think that could be a mechanic that could really change the way people play. And it's just one of my favorite things from that that game series. So you can
yeah. And so I almost feel like it's the Miranda card, because you can, reduce your main attack to boost your shield, or reduce your shield to get your main attack boosted. But I do see these various cards, the power management, shield engines, or weapons, shields, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a few versions of them out there. But yeah, they're all doing similar things, boosting the shields at the cost of the weapons, etc.
Yeah, and you can, I think if you've got like a shield regen droid, you could actually do some cool things with them.
Yeah, especially since regenerative abilities aren't really in vogue right now because of, the sort of high damage lists that are out there. Like,
Alpha Strike.
Yeah, exactly. Alpha Strike is the hard counter to regen. So if you had some ability to, reduce the amount of damage you get for one turn, or regenerate enough shields so that you could survive, there are ways that you could maybe make a regen style card or a defensive style card that could sort of counter Alpha Strike, but you would have to be really careful to make sure that it just doesn't become super dominant itself.
Yeah,
because obviously if your regen is really good, then that's going to be a problem.
Right. Cool. I think overall it's a pretty cool concept, and I know just from spending too much time on the forums, I've seen a bunch of people lately with threads like, oh, it would be cool to do this thread and to make this card, and what about this idea? And I kept pointing them to your thread, and so hopefully you've gotten a boost of people actually.
Yeah, there's a ton of entries. We're not going to have any lack of entries.
Cool.
So hopefully
a whole bunch of good ones here too.
Yeah. Hopefully we get enough of a voting base to get a good set of cards in the end. That's what I'm really hoping for at this point.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. Excellent.
It's well on its way. What were the dates for it again?
Well, the final implementation of everything is on June 3rd. I think the first round of voting is... Let me find my chart here. The first vote starts on May 29th and ends on June 5th. So that should be... this podcast should be out by then. So I would bet that this podcast is going to air during that voting period. So go look for the Custom Card League thread. And I'm sure there's going to be links there. Maybe we'll stick a link in the show notes for this podcast. But go to the FFG forums and look for it. I think it's going to be pretty easy to find and cast a vote.
Excellent. So I do think we're approaching Endor, our standard run here between Hidden Rebel Base and Mood of Endor. Does anyone have final comments, Philip? I don't want to cut you off on your custom card.
No. I think I'm just about done there. I will note, and I guess I should announce to everybody on board that the Ewok on the port wing has succumbed to exposure. Vacuum exposure.
Yes, exposure to my blaster.
That's what I was going to say.
And we'll get the ground crew on Endor, which is also Ewoks, I think, to scrape them off. And I think they're going to eat them.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, those little suckers, they get in anything. It's crazy.
Yeah.
These flashbacks.
Just don't feed them after. Don't feed them after dark.
Don't feed them after midnight. Yeah, they turn evil. They'll make rocks cut through stormtrooper armor. It's pretty mean. Excellent. All right. So, Jake, anything from the engineering?
Oh, well, we put a lot of stress on the impulse engines with that Ewok, shifting the balance to the wing, but a little bit of an R&R, and I'll have her up and running for the next flight.
Excellent. And J-Bot, thank you so much for taking care of our Ewok problem.
You got it anytime.
Diplomacy and action.
No, I mean, anytime.
We'll have a certain ex-girlfriend coming into port that maybe you can...
You were dating an Ewok?
Oh, man.
I don't want to know about these things.
All right, I can see the landing pad coming up.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks again for listening to the FFG recognized mothership of casual X-Men gameplay. Thanks, everybody.
See you.